So it's unusual for a feast day to replace the readings that we usually have on Sunday. It's a big deal. So when the church says, today I want you to celebrate St. John Lateran, we have to say, there must be some wisdom here. Now, I got to tell you, when I saw that I'd be preaching on the feast of St. John Lateran, I thought to myself, what am I going to say? St. John Lateran was built in 324. It's a church in Rome. It's the first public church in the city of Rome. In fact, it still is the cathedral for that city. So what? Let's look at the name. Maybe there's something in the name. St. John. St. John, the patron saint of this church, they couldn't choose just one St. John. They chose both St. John the Baptist and St. John the Evangelist. How about that? Why not take both, I think? So what? What about the last piece, Lateran? What's that? That's the family who owned the property where they built the church. Okay, so we have a confusing two St. Johns. We have the name of the family who owned the property, and it's the oldest church, the first public church in Rome. Okay, that's interesting, I guess. Not going to change me this week. But then we look to the gospel, and it's the story of Jesus cleansing the temple. And it's very clear. He goes in there and he says, this is a sacred place. This is where God dwells. It must be different from all other places. In fact, that's what the term sacred means. It means set apart. It must be set apart because God dwells here. So now we build a church in Rome, first public church, which means that God is dwelling there, and especially in our church, that's really, really powerful with the presence of the Eucharist. Christ is present. Now Christ is present in Rome. Christ is present throughout the empire of the Roman Empire. Okay, that's nice. Christ is present in all the known world. Not going to change me this week. Here's the piece of our readings today that changes me. We hear it in Paul, 1 Corinthians, when he says, don't you know that you are Christ's building? You are the church. Don't you know that the Holy Spirit dwells in you? And you are holy, you are sacred, you are set apart. Now, why does that affect me? That means that Christ is present not only in the physical church, but in you. You are Christ to the world. You're the building living stones. I've come to know so much about God and Christ from the students I teach, I have to tell you that. All the study I've done, preaching, I learn more about God from my students than I do anywhere else. Let me tell you what it means to be Christ to the world. Back in 2020, my middle brother, his name is John, he died very suddenly, very suddenly. And so we come to his funeral, and who are his pallbearers? They're my students. My students are his pallbearers. They carry him into Jesu Church for his funeral liturgy. They carry him to Resurrection Cemetery. And I remember there at the cemetery, and we bury my brother, and everyone else is leaving. It's just the family around the site. But who wouldn't leave my side? My students remained. They didn't walk away. In fact, one of my friends comes to me and says, Joe, you have to go over and tell your students it's okay. And I said, I don't want to. I'm their teacher. How can they see me like this? I'm completely distraught. My brother died. How can they see me like this? My friend said they need to see you like this. So I went over, spoke to my students. And that's the day I realized this living Holy Spirit in us. This great idea that Christ's witness is from Christ's withness, Christ's presence. That's what it means to be the living stones of the church. that our witness becomes our witness, no matter what. And I know we know how this feels when we say, oh, you've come, you're here, to someone we love. Our witness is our witness. Now I'm changed for the week. This week in the mornings, I'm going to think about the opportunities for me to be with people. What is my witness? At the end of the day, I'm going to review that. Did I bring Christ through my witness, just through my presence? So that is why we celebrate a church today. Not because we worship St. John Lateran, but because we worship a living Jesus Christ who is not only in this church but in you. For you are the living stones, and your witness is best seen through your witness. May God be praised.